The Affordable Care Act is coming under challenge once again. The administration, Trump's administration, is taking it to the Supreme Court and saying that the Affordable Care Act is invalid, including protections for people with pre-existing conditions. Krista, I know you have been watching this phenomenon. And again, this is not the first time that the ACA has come under attack.
That's right, Julie. So originally, this was a lawsuit that was brought up by the Texas AG, Ken Paxton, who essentially was leading the charge of a bunch of Republican AGs who wanted to declare the Affordable Care Act as essentially unconstitutional. Now, what originally happened was that the White House said, we are going to decline to defend the Affordable Care Act, essentially paving the way for it to go to the Supreme Court. Now, that case had essentially been knocked back, to the courts inside of Texas, which then again ruled that it was unconstitutional, again sending it up to the Supreme Court. Now, what the White House has decided to do was essentially file and ask the Supreme Court to look at it and to file it as unconstitutional. Now, interestingly enough, Julie, this is largely looked at a legal long shot. A lot of people are saying the arguments behind making the Affordable Care Act as unconstitutional really doesn't make a lot of sense. So it's really interesting to see what the Supreme Court is going to say if they decide to take up that case. Now, you have to understand right now, it doesn't look like the Supreme Court is too friendly to the president, as we've seen from a few previous rulings. So it's really unclear if the president is ever even going to get a victory here. But I think what really people are holding on to is saying, look, in the midst of coronavirus, why is the administration right now deciding to strike down a piece of legislation that allows folks right now to get access to healthcare? And as we heard from Ian Brummer earlier, coronavirus is essentially kicking the president's behind. We see him down in the polls. So it seems like this is a political miscalculation. Not sure if Rick has any thoughts there on that going forward on how this move is going to affect him politically, but we're going to have to see if the Supreme Court decides to side with the president or not. Probably unlikely.
I'll just add to what you underscore what you said, Kristen. I mean, you said it's a legal long shot. I would call it also a political loser. Approval for the ACA, also known as Obamacare, of course, has ticked up during the last few years. It's now a little bit above 50%. And Joe Biden in the fall is going to be talking about his plan to give health care to more people. And he's going to be reminding voters that Trump wants to take health care away from people during a pandemic. So, Trump is consistent on this. He's wanted to repeal the ACA all along. But honestly, he should just drop it politically. He should just stop talking about it. Instead, he's just creating another problem for himself politically.
Hey investors, Zach Guzman here. Are you interested in learning more about the markets and getting the latest financial news? Well, then click right here to subscribe to our Yahoo Finance YouTube channel. Get the latest up-to-the-minute market analysis, big interviews in the world of finance, and information on how to manage your money every day wherever you are.